One of our more traditional forms of play in MMO, of course, is the instance dungeon. This is a instance area for a number of players who basically are going a set number of people, but because of the Trinity, you tend to have to find a particular group. You need a healer. You need people who fit particular roles to go in. And what you end up with is people who are not going, or they're not going with friends, or they're looking for the healer in order to take on the dungeon. We wanted, with the death of the Holy Trinity in Guild Wars 2, instead what we're seeing is people are playing with friends. People are playing, you have your adventuring group, you're going into the dungeon, you get 5 people, and you basically are ready to go. Or you can also do the pickup group. You don't need to have a specific build. You don't need to have a specific class in order to defeat the dungeon. And that's very important because it makes it more open and accessible for a lot of people who won't go into this type of play because it involves, talking to people you don't know, or your group doesn't have the particular setup, or you're not of sufficient level, etc. And this opens the door for people to play in a wider gap. Now, it also helps us, the designers, because when you're designing this type of dungeon, if you're going with a Holy Trinity model, you have to say, well, we have to assume that everybody will have the healer, that this will be the particular structure. And so we reinforce that very setup that causes people to not play in the first place. So in this case, with our dungeons, you can go in with your 5 players. You can go, basically, that is our limit, and we can design to 5 people and not to necessary particular professions. Now, in our instances, in our dungeons, we also like to have the variety. We have each of our 8 dungeons that will be available in the opening of Guild Wars 2 will have a story mode and an explorable mode. And the story mode will be of a large meta story that belongs to all of the dungeons and parts involved. And as you move through the dungeons, you experience the full story. Each dungeon stands on itself. This is we designed to be survivable by a good organized pickup group. The explorable mode is a version that takes place in the same place from a plot standpoint, takes place after the story mode. So things you do in story mode have an effect on explorable mode. But there are other options within explorable modes, so it's not the same dungeon every time you walk into it. You basically make other choices, other things happen. So it creates a wider variety, so you don't see that continual repetition of play that you see often in traditionals. Okay, we have to hit X, we have to hit Y, we have to hit Z. It allows some more, again, variety and more depth. So when we say we have 8 dungeons, we really have 32 dungeons. And these explorable dungeons are meant to be tough. They are meant to be dungeons that will test the abilities and skills of a mixed group of players. Now, we get to the end of the dungeons, and this is, again, a problem that we've seen in MMOs. You go all the way through the dungeons, you defeat the final monster, it gives a drop that you can't use. You've been there. Some of them, they got the witch bow, the bow that shoots witches, and no, that's not, I can't use that. What we've done instead is we've allowed you to have tokens that will, and it unlocks reward armor types. So you can get the armor that you want. You can get the weapon that you want. You can basically create and customize your character and your reward experience as well. And everybody gets it. Nobody gets the cool item. You all get the cool item. And again, this is something that encourages you as a group to go together and experience the dungeons one after another, both in story mode and repeatable mode. And as we move forward, you have your ability to customize your character, your look, your feel. So basically, when other people see you, they're not seeing the Elementalist in the Elementalist armor that defeated the Ghost of Ascalon dungeon, because you're wearing that armor, but rather someone who is basically choosing the armor that works best for them. And with the idea of customization, I'm going to pass on to Kristen.